What's going on, people? So, finally getting around to talking about these. This is one of those things that I bought also months ago. Actually, you know what? I bought these from the same site, Hanan or Hanan, whatever, as the shoe that I was just talking about right before these. Either way, I saw these a while ago and I was like, now that is a color that I should look into. And I did, and now I have them, and so that's pretty alright. To let you know what we're talking about, give you a little bit of a view into things. Down there, side of the box, got some words, some letters on there, you know, some numbers and such. Gives you an idea of what we're talking about, right? Somewhat useful to at least like a person out there. Probably like a single person, but hey, I put it in the video because somebody asked for it like a while ago and it doesn't take much out of my day to do it. Either way, so let's go ahead, jump on into some things now that I have these and I'm all super excited, like by my standards anyways, to talk about them. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So, this right here is the Adidas ZX 5K Boost in Gray 3, Beam Green, and Semi-Pulse Lilac. You might be thinking, what? Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I looked at these on the Adidas page, you know, just to make sure I was reading this right. Because, you know, when they do these labels on the side, sometimes they kind of shorthand it or whatever, and you get an idea for what it says if you look at enough boxes. I was like, wait a second, let me double check some of these things. Yeah, semi-pulse lilac, that's a very specific type of lilac, I suppose, here, because I've never seen that before. Either way, let's go ahead and jump on into things because, you know, that's what we're here to do. By the way, this isn't going to be the full review, it's going to just be a quick thing because I did a full one on these, so if you want like all the breakdown and whatnot, otherwise it's just going to give you a nice little overview. Down there at the bottom, all that good stuff, right? I do really like the way the bottom of these looks. This is a very cool green, and like the way they do the back piece, like around where your heel is, kind of like that little zigzag type of thing they have going on. It's just kind of a cool look. And while we're talking about that, like, because up on the midsole, right, you can kind of see into there, like that little tooth type of thing that they're doing, right? Kind of reminds me of like a pair of the neighborhood shoes or whatever, you know? The Neighborhood and Adidas put some shoes out like at some point this year and at some point a couple of years ago. They all had like the little teeth thing going on. It's kind of a cool visual. Anyway, so there's that, but we'll get you some other pictures in there so you can kind of see these things because there's some stuff going on here, right? I mean, it's easy enough to look at it real quick and just kind of take it all in, right? And you'll know right off the top really if this is for you visually because, I mean, I feel like this is a look that you're going to look at and be like, oh no thank you, not at all. Or, you know what, I want to hear more about this because I might be okay with them. And so that's where we are, right? It's a polarizing type of thing in some ways. But whatever, I'll give you at least a little bit of information and you can make some kind of judgment. Either way though, so before I go getting into things and just kind of talking about stuff, the one thing that I do want to point out is that between this pair and this pair, because I bought these originally and I thought, okay, if this goes well, cool, like I'll keep my eye out for a better color because this one was like fine, but you know, just fine. And so I saw them come out and I was like, okay, well, let's get those. And the one thing I noticed up front here is kind of like with the Air Max Pluses and various other things, both the same model, but both different layouts as far as like materials and such goes. So on this one, on the bluer one, you have some mesh like that's around like a whole bunch of the shoe, like down in the toe box you have it going on there. You also have it kind of dipping down onto like the lower sides and such, and then even as you get to where like the stripes are, that piece is also a different material, right? So then when you look at this, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I see there's a bit of a difference there. So the one thing that I'm trying to convey through bringing that up, the same thing I say with Air Max Pluses, it's like if you see a pair and you like it and you've bought it or wore it or whatever and you see another pair, look closely at it to see what those materials are like because they may not always be the same, right? It's just something to keep your eye out for. But either way, so as far as this goes, you can kind of get an idea for like all this stuff, but I will say the one thing that drew me into it was clearly the colors because I just said this one was fine and I wanted a new one, so that's where we are. But either way, I don't have much to say about it, so I'm just going to jump into the personal thoughts and just kind of show you some more pictures and clarify some things. Personally, I like these a fair amount, right? Like a lot. And so the thing was, when I got the first pair, I thought, okay, this is pretty decent, but if I find a better color, I'll get it. And it was gonna take like a really good one, because at the end of the day, I don't like to get too many pairs of like the same model anymore, because the numbers of your shoes get pretty high. But these, I was like, yeah, this one is for sure coming into this little inventory of mine. Will I get rid of the other one? Probably not, because luckily for me, like, they're at least different enough that I can see a reason to keep them both. But if I do get rid of the other one, it'll probably just be sent off to my brother, because that's the thing that happens, because he wears the same size as I do. But all in all, as far as just getting these, even though they were like different materials and such than I expected, I kind of think it actually works out better the way this looks with this style or whatever. So no complaints, none whatsoever. So hopefully if these are around and like you're looking into them or whatever, you should be able to get them for a deal like I did as well from Hannon or some other retailer. But I can't imagine them being like a hot seller anymore or whatever. But past that, the one thing that I do want to shine some light on, so to speak, is that there is, you probably saw like the strips in here. So these do have 3M on here in like a couple areas or whatever, which is always a nice touch, right? I'm a big 3M guy. I didn't know that was on here going into this, so that actually makes me like them more. So there is that piece of it. And also one thing to point out, because like you'll see it in the videos and such, but this, and I'll probably mention it, but it's a very bottom heavy type of shoe. And if you check it out from like the back side, you know, you can kind of tell like, oh yeah, it's definitely a lot of stuff going on down at the bottom, kind of like similar build to like a 350 or something, right? But I'll get into that later perhaps, or I won't, because that pair's like way over there. Actually, you know what, I'm just gonna grab it, because why not? So like I was saying, the 350, you know, it kind of has like a similar sort of build in a lot of ways, you know, just because like the way the bottom is, they're both Boost and all that stuff. So I'm not going to throw in any pictures in there, because again, I don't feel like I need to. But that's kind of like a lot of the look that they have. That, and it also shares a lot of look with like the night joggers and things of that nature. Either way, let's move on and talk about some sizing. Sizing wise, right? I bought these in a 9.5 because, well, it makes sense. And then I realized, like, you know what, was that the right decision? Because these do have like a bigger fit, kind of like or like they have a bigger look, I should say, kind of like the night joggers, like I just brought up or whatever. But I will say, wearing these with thin socks, you're definitely going to notice that. Wearing these with something that's like a little thicker or whatever, not so much. And that's what I had on today, and it worked out just fine. So true to size should be good in a lot of people's eyes or whatever, but you will probably be able to like pick these up and like hopefully like try them on before committing to it, you know, like take advantage of whatever return policy and such. But sizing aside, walking around in these, I wore a pair today just to kind of get a refresher, and yeah, these feel really nice. Like the Boost in here, it's cushiony, kind of like the 350, just not as squishy, right? Which is cool. I do like that, but one of the complaints that I say about the extra squishy things is like sometimes if you're at the gym and you're doing certain exercises and you're standing, the stability is not there, right? So that was something that I ran into today. So that's also why I understand that some people just don't like the overall squishy thing. This isn't as bad, but it's still, I'd still consider it to be on the squishy-ish side. So consider that if that's a thing that matters to you. And then as far as like the upper goes and stuff, wearing the other pair, not so bad, right? I'm wondering how this one will play out, because it has more suede and stuff, not so much of just like the extra breathable mesh. But all in all, past it being like a heavy sort of wear, I don't see it being a problem. And when I say heavy, like it's, I don't want to say it's like night and day, but it is definitely noticeable. Like very bottom heavy, these shoes. So get ready for that if you decide to buy a pair. But otherwise, I think you should expect a good experience, right? But that's just me. Now, on that same note though, somebody did comment on like the last video and they're like, oh man, I wore these and then my feet started bleeding. And it's like, okay, if you're wearing something and then your feet start bleeding, like either A, like you had a problem already, or B, you're an idiot and didn't realize that you should have taken those off some time ago, right? So I just kind of left that comment to its own. I was like, I'm just going to give him some space to be stupid over there. I'm going to keep to myself over here. That's the thing that makes sense to me. Either way, I share that because, hey, you know, both sides of the fence, right? Some people have good ideas, or not good ideas, but good experiences. Some people have bad experiences. Nothing's going to be the same for everybody, right? It is the way it is. But that's it for me. From me to you, have a nice rest of your day or rest of your night, whatever it is, wherever you are. I am done with the recording, possibly for the week. Got a lot of editing to do at this point, so I've got to get to that. Later, people.